Well, first of all, it's ultra important for Citroën to come into India. For us, we want to become more international. When you look at the size of India already, it's 3 million passenger cars, and it's forecast to double by 2025. So it's a market that's growing. But also it's a market that is very complex, and we need to understand it. So what's our strategy? Well, basically what we want to do is to take the strategy that we've been using in terms of just recently in Europe, which is delivering us results, which is about having a unique styling, a comfort in part of our DNA, and also being right at the very heart of the market. But what we need to do is make sure that we have that's relevant for the Indian consumer. So we're very, very concerned to make sure that when we come to India, that we're offering vehicles that are international. There will be international models that will also be offered across other regions, but we make sure that we've got the right specifications, the right emphasis for the Indian customers, which is why we've got a local team in India also already looking at that, because we want to get this right. We only have one chance, and I think there are many manufacturers that have tried to do this, and you need to get it right. And in order to do that, you need to realise the Indian market is very complex, and you need to have a respect for it. So that's our strategy. I think there's three big challenges. One is about managing the cost, and that's why we're looking to have a very high local content. That's why, of course, we have our partnership with CK Birla. That's why we have 2 JVs, one JV for the marketing and assembly, and one JV for manufacture of powertrain and engines. So you're absolutely right. The first one is local integration. It's making sure that we've really got managed the whole of that sourcing and also the manufacture in India. That's number one. I think the other part about interaction as well is that we need to make sure that we emerge, because it's as I say, it's a very complex market. So we need to make sure we've got the right messages so that we're very effective and efficient in terms of how we come to market. So, I think also when we look at the distribution strategy, we need to be very disruptive in terms of how we do that. And we need to look at who we're going to be talking to, and in terms of what our customer base is and how we can be different in the market. Because when you're coming to a market like India, so late, you have to be different. You have to offer something innovative. You have to offer something that's different from the rest. So we need to make sure that we've got something very disruptive.
Any hints you can give us?
Not yet.
Right.
It would be too soon to actually talk about it. It's not a concern, but it is a unique, if you like, offering from Citroën. So we have, as I say, I'm going to use the same recipe that I had in Europe, but make sure it's adapted for the Indian customer. So unique styling. So our vehicles are always slightly different from the rest. We want to stand out. We want to be immediately recognisable within 100 yards in the road. The second thing is comfort. Comfort has been part of Citroën's heritage for 100 years.
Right quality as well.
Right quality, and that's the third thing. We need to get the quality right. Not only the quality in terms of the product, but also the quality in terms of the service as well. Well, I am not declaring yet which models we're going to be.
No, I'm just saying segments.
But clearly, in terms of when you look at the segments, in terms of the B segment, the C segments, wherever you go in the world, let alone just India, SUVs are very important, and the B segment is very important. So clearly, we've studied the Indian market with our Indian colleagues and recognise where there is the volume and what we call the profit pools in terms of where there's the biggest opportunities. But you're right, it's over the B and the C segments, and it's over SUVs. So of course we'll be looking as to what we could bring to the market. Yes, exactly. And the other thing that we need to understand exactly what technology we should be bringing to the market. Obviously we have a lot of technology in our cars, and it's what's the relevant technology as well. So that's another facet of the information that we need to make sure what technology is relevant and right for our Indian customers, and obviously trying to manage that cost efficiency. So really, to be honest with you, we looked at what the opportunity was in the market, and we recognised that the Indian market is quite complex. So we said, we looked at various things, and we felt that Citroën had the best, if you like, the differentiation in terms of how we can stand out and impactful in the market, with a very modern and fresh approach. And Citroën, in terms of their unique styling, in terms of this comfort, we felt that they were the right brand to be going into India. And it was after that, it was a business decision. So it was more about what's the right brand that's going to have the right impact in a very complex and very competitive market. How can you emerge very quickly? And we felt that Citroën's positioning, heart of the market, was the best route. So I think that's how we came to the market, and you're going to have to wait to see what we're going to be bringing to the market. But that's why it's been so important that we've got our people on the ground, the Indian people, the Indian team, and they're giving us the feedback. Because it's not simply about bringing a vehicle straight from Europe and putting it into Europe. And if I take an example, which isn't India, but it will show you what we've done. If you take the C4 Cactus, which we have in Europe, we have adapted that to move into South America, but they have completely different tastes. So we've taken a vehicle, but we've adapted it into an SUV in that particular example, where it's a C-segment saloon here in Europe. So we have the ability to be able to adapt, and that's what we need to do. That's the clever thing. It's not about simply taking a European vehicle and putting it into India. It's what are the Indian customers going to be looking for? Your question is very, very valid. We're taking lots of it, so you're going to have to wait a bit. I think you have to understand how we do these things in terms of very cost efficient and very agile in terms of PSA Group. So our view is that we start small, we move up, we evolve, we invest more, etc., etc., etc. So just because, for example, we may only at the moment in terms of our investment be able to produce, say, X
60,000.
or whatever, that doesn't mean that we can't then expand. So what we like to do is build. What we don't want to do is go in with an enormous investment before you've tested the market. So that's the way we've done everything in every other place, is that we go in, we build it up, we evolve, etc., etc. And that way it is a much more cost efficient of your return on investment in terms of also your efficiency, if you like. So that's our philosophy wherever you go in the world.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.